This is so World of Warcraft. I can't even.
I don't know. It doesn't feel like it to me.
The questing.
How recently have you
So we
played World of
started.
Warcraft?
Not for years, but the point it's making is this is the way the questing is set up is definitely World of Warcraft. So like we just did our main city in Thorlum, right? Now you
Sure.
have to go to the other beginning main city and do a bunch of quests there. Then you go to the third main city and do a bunch
Yeah,
of
but you're
quests
talking about
there.
questing when questing was
And
cool
that's
in World of
and
Warcraft.
all
Not
that's gonna and
you
all
haven't
that's
played
gonna
recent.
happen.
You haven't played recently, bro.
Nope,
Questing
but all that has
sucks.
to happen
Questing
before
sucks.
you get your mount. This is so the way it was, and wow.
Yeah, but that's when it was good. Questing sucks now. That's all I have to say. That's why I don't play WoW.
You don't know you don't know about no WoW. Why you lying?
Okay, sure. Tell me I don't know about running Scarlet Monastery at level 18. Come on.
Bruh. That's small potatoes. Where's your Grandmaster title?
I stopped, man. The game just got you because there was a point when they added Dungeon Finder, you couldn't get into groups being under level in the dungeon even if you had the skills to run the dungeon. Cause that's how I used to fucking be able to get fucking like legit gear. Is I would just run it just lower than I'm supposed to be, and then get boosted quick. Like I had a faster level up time because of that. Like when they did Dungeon Fighter, nobody was queuing outside. Nobody was popping off like 5-mans. I used to be getting hella squatted up. I even started a guild in there. It was for fun, so it didn't matter, but I'm just saying. Oh, I forgot what level my thing is supposed to be. I forgot what my level I need to be to do my next story.
Listen
my
to some
next
good old
class
Ben
quest.
Shapiro.
Wow, you would. The music is very calm right now.
He actually has a lot of good points.
He skews it though.
I don't know.
I know the things he references. He doesn't put in
I'm
the
not
facts.
He puts in. I don't know. I think that's the part where I don't bother to question because people disagree with him, but I look up the facts he cites because he uses a lot of citations, and I find
Yeah,
the
but-
stuff he's talking about. And I go,
He takes it out of context though. That's the thing. It's like it's not just about the facts. It's about the context.
Sometimes I think he's about.
Often
He's got
enough.
He's got a much better track record at using the facts correctly than I'd have to say 90% of.
But that's because he uses that to set up when he's skewing them to make his point.
Because when I listen to when I try to listen to quote unquote facts that come from. All right, where the hell is this? Where am I supposed to be going with this?
But you act like he's doing something different than what the people you're about to say do. Like, no,
he does
they've
a
just
hell
made
a lot different.
He
does
no,
a hell a lot different.
they've just made a business of it.
No,
they've just made a business of it.
So if you look at the facts, now he may interpret the facts differently than you or I would, but
that's what context. Come on.
But he at least gives you the facts to look at, so you can look at those and make an assessment.
But he pretends
disagree.
He pretends like there's no other valid interpretation of the facts, which is just as bad as getting wrong facts.
If you have a point, if you have a position, you can't at the same time and be taken seriously. Say this is my position, but it's probably wrong. So
no, did I say that? See, you're putting words. No, you're putting words in my mouth.
I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth.
Because you added that there's a probably wrong. I didn't say probably wrong. I said other valid points. Other valid points doesn't mean that you're probably wrong. It just means there's other valid points.
If the other valid point is completely different than yours, then one of you has to be wrong.
That's only if you claim that every other position is mutually exclusive, and that's what I'm saying. He does. They try to put these extremes. He's no different than these other people. He's no different because he's talking to extremes. Like that's the problem.
He uses facts.
But he takes them to extremes that are not relevant.
But he leaves you free to take a look at those and make your own interpretation.
And nobody's gonna do that. And nobody's gonna do that because they do the same thing. They do the same thing.
No, they do not. Okay. And when I look at an article written by like BuzzFeed or
Are you talking about BuzzFeed? You're talking about BuzzFeed.
There's no facts.
BuzzFeed is trash.
There's never any facts. There's never any facts from those two sources. I don't mind if somebody.
I thought you were talking about. I thought you were gonna go on some mainstream media rant because I was gonna say, that's.
Like who? Who would you consider mainstream media that's in the same league as him? Who are you comparing him to that you're?
I'm comparing him to the mainstream media, like that article you linked the other day about the cuckery.
Okay, well the cuckery one didn't list a single citation. There was just an opinion.
It was listed as an op-ed piece. It was listed as an editorial actually.
I don't remember if that's the case. I'll take your word for it. But my point is, I want to see some facts. You know, at least. So like, if you say
here's the thing.
Here's the
thing. Did you know that expert testimony can be entered as fact?
But there was no expert testimony, so that's not relevant to the argument we're having.
If an expert speaking on something can be entered as fact.
But you know, and I know, that there were no experts speaking on their behalf. It was just an article written by a man or a woman, I can't remember which, that was saying they thought that cuckoldry could be positive in some relationships, which is a non-starter because in some is right regardless.
Not always, not for everything, not for everything. See, that's what I'm saying.
What?
You like to...
In some doesn't mean all. It means in some.
Being decapitated. Being decapitated is good for no one.
That's not true, actually. They're actually working on. This is funny. I just read.
They're working on a head transplant. I know what you're talking about.
They're working on head transplant.
Yes, I know.
Which, you know, for somebody like not Steve Jobs. What's the guy who's Stephen Hawkins? Decapitation, so he could have his head put on a good body would be preferable.
Sure.
So in some cases. Means that, okay, there's some anecdotal piece of evidence somewhere that somebody will benefit from this.
But they're talking about, but there actually have been studies done though. Like you know this, right? Like you are aware, as far as the effects on open relationships on the people involved in them.
Open relationships are fine, but cuckoldry is not just. I tried to explain that to you last time. Cuckoldry is not just you have an open relationship.
Right. It's mostly a unidirectional open relationship. But that's
not even that. It's not even that. I don't even mind that part.
But
that is a big part of it. But the big part you have to look at is cuckoldry is about demeaning.
No, see, you're adding that.
No, it's not. Look up cuckoldry.
You're adding that. You're adding that.
No, I'm not.
You're adding that.
No, I'm not. Cuckoldry. You haven't looked up cuckoldry.
I have.
Cuckoldry has to be
I know its origin, bro. We were talking about rakes and hoes earlier, bro. Come on, get out of here.
Bro. Cuckoldry. It has a demeaning sense to it, and it has to.
It only has
because that's the whole point.
No.
That man likes to be demeaned. It's not just you're sleeping with his wife. You're sleeping with his wife in front of him.
Nope.
Which it's a
you're
whole
wrong.
demeaning.
You're wrong.
I'm actually gonna pull it up.
That's only for subs. That's only for subs.
No, it's not.
Yes,
that is what cuckoldry is, man.
No, that's only for subs, bro.
Where are you getting your definition for cuckoldry?
From the communities from the communities that engage.
Nope. It needs to be defined by a reputable source.
From the communities that engage in those activities. Where
Nigga, I need a reputable source. I don't want your anecdotal evidence.
Come on.
I need a reputable source.
Where do words come from? Where do words come from? The communities that use them. Get the fuck out of
here. And words are both accepted and denied by the greater community.
Like no, nobody's offended when you call them a cuck, other than it being a garbage insult. It's like lazy and doesn't mean anything to anyone.
That's also not true.
That is true though. Like
some
it
people
only means
call them a cuck.
Because it's a bad insult, not because it's like means anything. Like,
dude, so,
people can call me a cuck all day, and I'd be like, okay.
Cuckoldry has a demeaning nature to it, and the reason why is because it has to do with it has to do with a male that likes his wife to have adulterous affairs, but he also is a masochist, so he likes to be demeaned. That's the point.
Nah.
Otherwise, it's not cuckoldry. No, dude, it's right here. It's in the definition.
Nah.
Go you look it up on pick a dictionary. It's gonna tell you that it has
Oxford 18th century original.
Well, you're not gonna find that on the internet, so that's
so.
No good.
But I'm saying that's where you might find the actual definition that you want to
Actually,
use.
no, because as you said, words are merely a construct of the community, so they change. So you have to go by what the definition is.
Nope, we're going by the original. We're going by the original.
Okay,
because that's the only one that means anything.
If you go by the original, then nobody can get mad if somebody calls them a faggot. Nobody can get mad if they say they're gay. No one can get mad if they call them a nigger. No one can get mad over any of those terms because the original terms have nothing to do with what they are today.
Not entirely true.
The original term
not
for
entirely
nigger is somebody
true.
from the country of Niger.
No, because it didn't have two G's. First of all,
it didn't. But the original term
and
of
it's not pronounced.
changed.
It wasn't pronounced with the hard G. It was Niger. First of all.
It depended on who was saying it because back then
most people respected the French.
Did not really have a full uniformed language at the time because it was still a colony. And on top of that, you had to keep in mind that people came from different places. If you were from Germany, you said it with a different accent. If you were from Italy, you had a different accent. Britain, another accent. France, another accent. So it would have been whatever it was at the time. It being the name of a country, it just was what it was. Now the word.
First of all, the one that you're referencing actually comes from the reference for black in the Latin languages, not from the Niger reference.
But the point is, it wasn't used as a negative connotation. It was just a word.
But see, we're talking about two completely different words because one.
But my point is, if you try and anecdotally say we're going to use the original, you can't.
I'm not saying anecdotally. You said I could choose any dictionary, and then you're trying to say I can't.
I said you can choose any dictionary. Yeah, you can even choose, but it has to be of this date. You can't just go.
Bro, you're adding stuff. Why didn't you add that from the start? Why wasn't that there from the start?
I assumed since you're the one who brought up that social communities are how we get words. You knew that. I assumed you knew how the English language worked.
I know how the English language works. That's why I said. Use the original. You can. There's a book out there that's an Oxford 18th century original that has the original definition. And
the word "the" doesn't even mean what it. In that dictionary,
can I say something? Can I say
doesn't
something?
even exist. It's the.
It's actually not the, because the is a pronoun for people. The is actually the old, like ye old pub. That sound th comes from that thing that most people think is a y nowadays, and it's not. It's not ye old. It's actually pronounced the old pub.
No, back in the day.
Yes, I am correct.
Everything that used to be that uses the nowadays would have been the.
Nope, you are incorrect. You are incorrect right here.
So it's all.
There is a letter we don't use in English that looks like a y. That it's not ye old pub, it's the old pub if you pronounce it. It's a letter that represents the th combination. Trust me, I know a number of linguists and people.
I know what you're talking about, but that's a Latin letter and we don't use it, so it's no bueno.
It represents the th. It represents the th sound, and that's where the is. The is from there. The
in your lifetime, there's a word ain't, right? Ain't wasn't even a word.
Yes, ain't was a word. Ain't was a word actually in the same time they used the with the y for the y-esque symbol for the th. At the same time that they used that, they were using ain't, and it was a proper conjunction, actually a proper contraction. My mistake.
And it was
Proper
removed.
contraction. It was not removed. It was not removed. People got dumb. People got dumb and stopped using it. And then
no, it's because it was a part of Old English, and a lot of the things in Old English were dropped. It's not they got dumb. It's that they changed. When America founded itself and rebelled from Britain, we changed a lot of simple words around.
Arguable. It's arguable.
It's still been used in British English. I'm not going to say it's not. And it's always been in the British English, but it was removed from the American English. American English and British English are not identical, contrary to popular belief.
You know, taint isn't just the region between your butthole and your ball sack, right?
I know.
All right.
There's a bunch of things that were.
So do you want to be a proper linguist, or you do want to pick and choose like Ben Shapiro?
My point is, all that is relative because, as you said, it's made up by your communities. The words that we use today won't even be the words that we'll use in the future. Remember when we were talking about? It's funny because you tried to use the exact argument. You tried this one before when we were talking about, but you said it in the opposite way, which is why I find this funny. When we were talking about people being able to redefine themselves for their genders and make up whatever genders they want.
No, I never said that. I don't agree with that all like that. Like they can do that. I mean in the sense like they can do that, but like if I accidentally say, "Hey, you dude, what's up?" When I say dude, I use that as just a general. From my perspective, everything is male, right? From my perspective, the default perspective for me is male. So I'm gonna say everything, assuming that my perspective is not necessarily 100% wrong, but it's my perspective, and that's where I start. Because I'm me.
But here's what I don't understand, right? Why is it a crime to be rude to somebody?
It's not. There's nothing in the law that says you can't be rude. You just can't be, you know.
I mean, there isn't as of today. True, but they're trying to add it to where it is. Because the only thing, if you call a man a woman, you're just being rude.
Right. Sure.
You're not hurting him. Like if I think that a guy is mad feminine, or like let's say I get in a fight with someone and I whoop that ass. And I call him a bitch. I'm calling him a woman, a female. I'm
not necessarily.
Male.
Not necessarily.
And calling him female. Or if I just call him a sissy, I just say you're a sissy. I'm.
But those things, those aren't appropriate words for females in polite conversation. Let me put it like that.
Sissy just means I'm calling him a feminine male.
Yeah, you're saying he's soft.
His masculinity.
Yeah, you're questioning his masculinity, but
is the same thing. I'm questioning his gender, or his. The representation of his gender as a social construct.
But it also has a acerbic place as far as it is meant to scour. You know what I mean? It's not meant to be like there's a difference between, and I'm not saying
those words are actually meant to be offensive.
Right.
And if someone calls you a man instead of a woman, and it's not a word that's meant to be offensive, you have no right to call the police. You have no right to, you have a right to feel upset.
Even if somebody,
you have no right to force him to say anything that he doesn't want to say.
But look, if somebody calls you a sissy, you don't have, you can call the police, but the police will be like, okay, what do you want me to do? Like, he called you.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, when these people want to call the cops because somebody doesn't, they're ugly as sin. They don't look like a female at all, even though that's what they're trying to be. They look like, athlete's foot. And, a guy calls them a guy, because that's what they are. And they
in your opinion, and
they say, "Oh, this is that's offensive," and you go,
"Remember,
okay."
I do need to keep this as open. Like I will entertain your point of view, but I'm not going to necessarily make.
My only thing is that I don't understand why it matters, because if somebody doesn't call, like if you insisted on calling me a woman, honestly, by 5 minutes I would have tuned it out.
But it's like this. It's like this. Afro. How many times do I call you a dummy all the time? But I don't mean it like that. You know what I mean? Like
I tune it out. Like it's not even something that I, it's just the way you speak. Like
right.
How can you be so insulted by things that don't matter?
But that's what I was trying to say about cuck, right? Like if somebody calls me a cuck, it's like I know people are trying to insult me, but it's like it doesn't have any impact because I don't even care about the term that much. You know what I mean? Like I'm like
that's why the N-word doesn't affect me at all, because I'm just like Like I'm like my ancestors were not from there.
No, but see, like the N-word, only phases me from the part of the culture, like where it becomes ingrained, where you hear somebody that just shouldn't be saying it, you just have that automatic slap response.
Yeah, I honestly don't think anybody should be saying it, so I put everybody in the same boat. Because my thing is this:
you be dropping M-bombs left and right. You be dropping M-bombs left and right.
Exactly, because I know that other people do say it. So here's my thing: I don't think anybody should say it, or I think everybody should say it. Because the only way to get rid of that word is to overuse it to the point where it never. Like, remember back in the day, actually around the 60s, the N word was huge and being used negatively and hurtful and all that other stuff. So they came up with a counter word for it, cracker, cracker, redneck, all those types of things, and they used those to try and kind of counteract the N word. But those two words at their root mean the same thing, and
you want to know what's funny? You know what's funny?
But it never caught on because they were never offended by it.
You want to know what's funny though? And this is like low key hella borderline, but it's like I can talk about it's hella safe, low key for edge topics, like fringe topics to be talking about that are hot button and hot takes to fucking be talking about on the stream. Like I can safely talk about the N word, I believe, and I feel like if Twitch came after me for talking about the N word, I would have a fucking hella, like I already have it declared it's a mature stream, and if I'm dropping M-bombs, I'm black, and I don't think it's that big of a problem. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and that actually it's not a big problem, obviously, because culture allows it to be that way.
Right.
But if you actually take and look at it for what it is, it kind of is a problem.
But I'll never say that. I'll never say that it is. You know what I mean? You can.
No, yeah. I agree. I don't truly believe. I'm okay. How do I word this? I'm aware that it's a problem, I guess I'll say, but at the same time, I don't care. So, like, it's one of those things that I know that the solution to fixing it would be to allow everybody to say it and move on, and that's about as far as
look, there's no law in the books that says you can't actually say it. It's just that.
But society.
Society will ream you. Society will ream you for saying it.
We've allowed society to play judge, jury, and executioner. It's the same thing when we were talking about how men get crucified in cases of like, okay, let's say a woman says she was raped. Well, the man's gonna get crucified. That's
such a tough topic. It's hard for me to even be able to. The example is my response right now. That's all I can say is, like, I can only say not even yay or nay, but we'll stay away from that topic because of I don't have the privilege to comment on such topics because of my apparent sexual characteristics.
How do I get to this next place? This shit sucks, man. I don't know how to get where I need to go for the main quest.
But you get what I'm saying? Like you're a viewer. You can say whatever you want, but I just hope whatever you say doesn't get me fucking banned on Twitch. And I hope you would respect that.
I keep everything I say defensible. I don't take points that I can't defend. Make a habit of that. But I just think it's wrong that people are able to crucify anyone before they have their day in court.
I will say I agree with that sentiment.
Because I've
been crucified for. Look, I've been crucified just for suggesting that due process should take place. So
I always think that due process should take place, no matter what. Because I've seen people who look indefensible. And you're like, yo, you're gonna hang, like you're gonna be swinging.
But here's the thing though.
And then come to find out, they just had bad luck, really bad luck at the bad time, and they actually hadn't done anything. They were being lied on.
But here's the thing.
Remember the Duke Lacrosse case? I was like, those
niggas are guilty. I don't even need the Duke Lacrosse case, man. I'm black. I'm a black man. I'm 6'4". I'm 280. Trust me, I know.
I don't want to use any of your personal experiences because, like you said, you don't want to go into detail.
Right.
Well, but that's why I'm using that. I'm like,
but it's low key. It's low key getting me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Like I didn't do nothing, man. I'll just be. Come on, get out of here. Get out of here.
You could have walked down the street. Some guy started yelling. They're two black guys. One of the black guys shoots the other black guy. You just came out of the subway, and all the white people are like, "Oh, you looked like him."
Right.
And now you're being questioned.
It's like he was. Look, it's this bad though. He had They don't even say high top fade. He had low cut hair. With he was somewhere between 6 feet and 6'5", somewhere between 180.
He had brown hair, brown eyes.
Right.
Like you just described 90% of the African American male community.
So the only black people not getting got are the ones that are 5'9", except they look like they're 6 feet because they're black. You know what I mean?
Yep. But that's the stuff that I'm talking about. Like, it's just like, what do you do?
Treat people like people and hope that positivity comes from, you know, your interactions. Do no harm is the idea. That's all I can say, man. Cause like, you don't even want to get me started. Like, cause you know how we have our serious conversations off the line, of Twitch and shit.
But that's just like, my problem is people don't want to give out due process, and that it just disgusts to me that people don't want to give out due process.
Can we talk conspiracies and just be zany conspiracy guys that are on Twitch?
I mean, you can if you want. Shit? I'm kind of I'm odd with I'm not really a big conspiracy guy.
You don't enjoy just a little.
I mean, I enjoy talking about it, but the thing is, I'm the type of person who, if something piques my interest, I'll research it for hours and hours on end for no reason. So I usually can find a valid art. Like, give me a conspiracy theory, and I can probably give you a good reason.
How many levels do you want to go though? Is the question. It's
like, I need to go to Alaport.
Do you want to talk? Are you talking about harp shit, or you want to talk about phantom time shit? Like what? There's like hella conspiracies out there. There's even
what kind of conspiracy do you want to talk about?
Let's start with harp. Like that's a classic one. Like harp even connects to like chemtrail style shit and like fucking dulce bass style shit.
Define the acronym.
HARP is a high altitude. High altitude something relay. It's like it's the one that it's the weather control conspiracy where they inject high voltage. God. Yeah, high amperage altitude relay project or something like that.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and say we can't control the weather just yet.
He throws a just yet on it. That's a great one.
Well, I mean, I know for a fact we're trying.
Right, of course. So, we're trying.
If somebody's telling you that we did something, like we created a tsunami and that's what wiped out, that's a lie. Bold-faced lie.
You don't. But influence has been demonstrated. Everybody knows this.
We don't have the equipment to do it yet.
But even influence. I'm saying influence has been demonstrated. If you want to even look at it from a climate change perspective. From a very simple open science perspective, not even anything black book.
I guess that's something good we can talk about. There's a conspiracy theory one. Climate change.
I haven't heard the conspiracies on that. That's very InfoWars. That's like hella
climate
InfoWars.
change. I'm talking about not even InfoWars because that guy ticks me off. I just don't like his face. Like, it's weird.
Because he's always straining to talk?
Yeah, like he's just too fat and too obnoxious. Some of the stuff he says is good shit. Most of it's not, but it's just he's too much. Like, it's like that kid who no, I just can't deal with him. But so when it comes to climate change, the problems I have with it are the inconsistencies. One, they come out and they make all these statements about how things are going to happen, how it's going to get. Okay, so one. None of what they say is proven in fact. So
hold on. Remember, predictions can only be proven by the empirical method. And when it comes to a system like the Earth, you have to think about how they're looking at it. Like they're doing core samples and they're doing measurements, and then they're saying how the measurements change and what the change in the rates mean as far as chemistry and physics that we understand. Of course, with such a system is large and complex.
That's what they should be doing.
That's what it's done.
They should be doing.
That's what it's done.
That is not what they have.
All right, who's they? Who's they?
Okay, the
establish your they.
The climate change religionists, like. Let's take, for example.
But those are scientists. I mean, not scientists. When I say no. Wait, stop. Let me correct what I mean by scientists. I didn't mean scientists. Those are followers of scientism. Those are people who treat science as though it's a religion, as opposed to understanding the inherent flaws of science.
The whole point about science is science is prove me wrong. That is science in a nutshell.
Right.
Doesn't matter what you have done. The whole point is that somebody should try and prove
Actually,
you wrong.
it's prove it or prove it wrong. I assert that X is Y. If X is not Y, prove me wrong, but I have a very strong statement about X being Y.
Science is all about prove me wrong, because the initial part
It's not necessarily about prove me wrong. It's because you have to make.
Well, it's a theory. It's a theory. It starts off as a theory.
No, it doesn't start off as a theory. It doesn't start off as a theory. It starts off as a postulation or a hypothesis. Be technical
here. A hypothesis and a theory mean the same thing.
No, they do not. No, they do not. No, they do not. This is the mistake. You're making a mistake. We can't have this conversation if you're gonna say that.
Look in the dictionary. You're gonna. Nope.
A dictionary is not designed for scientists. You're wrong. You are wrong. You are 100% wrong.
I'm telling you that those two words.
You're 100% wrong. You're 100%
okay, define theory.
Wrong.
Define theory and then define hypothesis.
A theory is an accepted, empirically proved. Yes. Hypothesis. I am correct. You are wrong. This is fact.
That is not true. What you're saying is not true.
You are wrong. You are wrong.
I can pull up.
You're wrong.
Pick a dictionary. Pick a dictionary. Even pick an old dictionary, and I'll send it and I'll show it to you.
You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong.
I don't know what they're teaching you over there.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
That's not right, bro.
You're wrong. You're 100% wrong. There's no defense on what you're saying. You're wrong.
Just
no, because we can't continue with you equaling hypothesis to theory. That is not correct.
Hypothesis and theory are synonyms.
No, you need a hypothesis before you can have a theory, because a theory comes after experimentation. Thank you very much. Mic drop. I'm out.
No, that's incorrect.
Yes,
that is
100% correct. You have to postulate before you hypothesize. After you hypothesize, you run experimentation to come up with a theory. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to pull it up right here, and I'm just going to link it to you, and you're going to be like, fuck.
I am not wrong.
So here we go.
So you're telling me the theory of gravitation is not an explanation for the law? And then there was a hypothesis about gravity? And
what's the difference between a theory and a law? What's the difference between a theory and a law?
A law exists and is. Like gravity is a law because
that is not a definition. Yes, that is not no.
It is. Bring a scientist on right now, and I will tell you that yes. A law is not a description about how it's supposed to work. A law says gravity exists and works this way.
So, definition for a theory: a hypothesis assumed for the sake of argument or investigation.
That's in a modern layman's colloquial speech, dude. You're fucking wrong. Get the fuck out of here. You're wrong.
Bro,
you are 100% wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong.
That's Merriam-Webster.
Webster is not for scientists. It's for people who are laymen. That's why I said it's a layman's. There's a difference. You know that lawyers use different dictionaries than lay people.
The difference between a law and a theory.
Bro, I'm correct. I'm correct.
A law is something that has been proven after extensive experimentation and has been accepted by the scientific community as such.
Which means that it is and will be and continues to be that way. So I am not incorrect. Thank you very much.
But the last part you said is not true. Laws can be disproven should the evidence arise to prove them so.
Yes.
There were laws in the past that have been changed, so you can't say that laws are unchangeable. That's
gravity. First you have to have a description of something before you can even say that there's a law for it to start off with. But you're trying to bring up this bullshit about laws that doesn't fucking matter. Hypothesis and theory are different. That's the biggest problem with people that fucking try to come in here and talk about climate change and a bunch of other shit, is they try to say that theories and hypothesis are the same thing. They're not. A scientific theory has been tested.
That is not the biggest problem, because those
that is the biggest problem. Scientific theory is tested. Scientific theory is tested. Scientific theory is tested.
In the grand scale of things,
the grand scheme, then
is a beginning portion of a theory.
So what? So a hypothesis is the beginning. So a hypothesis is the beginning. Oh no!
A theory and a hypothesis are the same. Now what you're saying is also true. Because what you're doing is you're talking about an accepted theory. And that's true.
No.
If you have a theory that's actually accepted by scientists, that is on its way to becoming a law, yeah, there should be experimentations that have been done, and so on and so forth. You can define it as you want to and make it work. It's words.
It's different. It's different between a detective going and walking up to a scene and going, I have a theory about how this guy died, before he even looks at shit and studies anything, and having a hypothesis and saying, hypothetically, how could this guy have died? That's why hypotheticals exist, and it's not a fucking theory. Get out of here.
It's only because in your mind you want it to be so.
No, that's how it is. That's how it is. That's how it is. That's how it is.
You're purposefully
you're gonna keep talking. You're gonna keep talking. I'm gonna just mute you on my side, because until you're ready to actually like have a conversation about anything that makes sense.
Well, I mean, running away from a conversation isn't really a productive.
Because it's not a productive conversation when you assert the things the way you do.
I'm actually not asserting anything. You're the one who's saying.
You're saying a hypothesis. You're saying a hypothesis and a theory are the same. That's incorrect. That's a modern layman's mistake.
A hypothesis and a scientific theory. Well, first off,
we're speaking scientifically. First of all,
the problem is one. You have to add. There are words that need to be added that make your base hypothesis, which is just an educated guess, right? So a theory is also at its base an educated guess. Now, once you get into some actual scientific investigation in the way of experiments and data farming, so on and so forth, then it becomes more of a scientific theory where it actually has some meat behind it. So it's weighted. But your base theory, a theory is just a guess.
A theory is not just a guess, my dude. A hypothesis is a fucking guess, man. Get out of here. Get out of here.
If you just take the word theory, if I come up to you and I say I have a theory of why he died, I offer you no experiments, no evidence. I just say I have a theory. It's a guess.
But that's some layman bullshit. That's what I'm saying. That doesn't fly when you're trying to submit papers. So get that garbage out of here. Are we being technical or are we not being technical? If we're not being technical, you're right. If we're being technical, you're wrong.
We weren't being technical. You decided to do that.
You're talking about scientific papers with climate change, and you're talking about not being technical. That's what I'm saying is your inconsistency in the methodology you use for your logic.
See, that's not true. Because I make a distinction. I make a distinction between science. I make a distinction between a theory and a scientific theory because they're not the same.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
That's my whole point.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
When you listen to theories, when you look at the theories on, when you actually take a look at all the theories that exist on climate change, 90% of them are not scientific theories. They're just theories. Now,
anything else? Anything else?
If you want to not call them that, then you can call them whatever you want. I mean, you can call them hypotenuse. I don't care.
Because it's me making up terms, right? You're right.
I don't care how you define it because
you're right. I'm just making up terms. It's cool. No,
it's not about.
It's not like these are terms that are used, like in science.
Does that
and
have any relevance?
This isn't the actual problem with climate change. Is people not understanding what a hypothesis and a theory is. But no, sure. Continue to spout exactly what the problem is, and
is that relevant?
It is.
What we're talking about right now.
It is because you're saying that these things are unresearched, XYZ, they don't have the right fucking theories, they don't have the right hypothesis, nobody knows what's going to happen. Like, then why study shit? Why do anything? Why build computers? Why study quantum mechanics? Why have studying evolution? It's all pointless. Fucking, everything's a fucking theory, everything's a guess, none of it fucking matters. It all starts with somebody having a hunch. So it doesn't fucking matter. Don't test shit. Just go out here, do stupid shit, and fuck around.
Nope, that's your definition of what you want to do.
That's not what is that what I said I want to do? This is what it sounds like from the way you're breaking shit down. You're talking about an unstructured, garbage-ass world where shit doesn't matter.
All I said.
Words don't mean anything. You're right.
All I said was that everybody goes in there with a theory, and then you jumped on the fact.
But they don't go in there with the theory. They go in there with the hypothesis.
That is not how they submit it. They submit them as theories.
Because when you know why they submit them as theories? Because they're actually studied and they're actually peer-reviewed, and then they go in as theories after being peer-reviewed.
Show me the peer-review research on Al Gore's definition of global warming that he posted to America, or that he submitted to America back in 1999.
See, but you're talking about scientism. I'm talking about a science fact.
What are you talking about?
You don't know about scientism?
No, I'm saying, what are you talking about? I just gave you an example and asked you.
And I said you're talking about scientism. You're talking about scientism.
There's no C, and you just submit something entirely different. Like what?
No, because I didn't submit.
Find me the research.
Bro.
Find me the data that you say exists if you're submitting a theory.
Come on.
Where is that data that Al Gore used to make his assessment?
See, you go wide with all these generalities, and then you pick one situation. You cherry pick. This is exactly what cherry picking is. You're cherry picking
from the beginning and said Al Gore. I gave you
Al
Gore as an example.
And I said that's scientism. But you're not listening to understand what scientism is. If you knew what scientism was, you would know that I'm agreeing with you to some degree. But I'm saying when you look at the real data, there's actual scientific theory and a scientifically informed hypothesis behind the effects of climate change. That's why real scientists call it climate change and not really global warming. The lexicon affects all of us, and it affects me. That's why I don't really use global warming, but it does get hotter than it's supposed to be at this time of year in California. It was just 100. Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Well, you just
Let me
made a
finish.
scientific
Let me finish.
error. You made a
Let me
scientific
finish.
error
Let me
just then.
finish. Let me finish. Can I finish, or are you gonna
Listen,
cut me
let
off?
me finish. Okay, finish. And I'll just
Bro.
touch on the same point.
110 degrees in October, in the last week of October, when it's supposed to be one of the coldest weeks in the year, during the day and at night. Is all I'm saying. Like,
why is it supposed to be that?
Because the trend for the region and similar regions has shown over.
Supposed to is not a scientific term. Is the point I'm getting at.
Supposed to means it has a tendency throughout the arc of our data to have a more likely probabilistic.
Scientists use the term "supposed to be." You know that's not true. For someone who just hit me on
Bro,
not using the
did I not clean up my term? Did I not clean up my term? Or are you gonna just try and hit me for the term that I used a little bit off? I'm cleaning it up. Am I cleaning it up? Am I cleaning it up or not? Am I cleaning it up or not?
You are cleaning it up, but my point is.
Did you clean yours up or did you double down on your garbage? So clean it up or bring more garbage.
My point was,
you didn't clean it up.
I said there is a distinction in the way I'm speaking. There is a distinction between theory and scientific theory, and you said some other nonsense.
No, I didn't say some other nonsense. I'm saying that theory has been co-opted by layman to bring garbage. Like, it allows you to make the argument that I'm saying global warming is the correct way to describe things when climate change and its effects by humans, which is one of actually the best arguments for our ability to terraform in the world. But people don't see it because they have it caught up as a hot button political item when you can see men have at least the power to affect the temperature of a planet the size of the Earth by somewhere between 0.00001 to 0.00005 or 0.05 degrees, which is actually huge.
We definitely have the ability to make some changes. Here's the thing.
I think that's the most important point to take away from it.
If you actually look at the actual scientific theories with the data that's in, the scientists, the data is in on, yes, man does contribute to climate change. However, not global warming, because that's a fake theory put forward by politicians and religious.
But ocean temperatures will rise around the globe. This is a fact.
That is true. Now, here's the thing. Scientists do not agree when it comes to they do not have a.
Is it solely man? Is it solely man?
Not even that, like, but that's true too. They don't know that isn't necessarily for the good or the bad. But that's
why you have to get good. That's why when I say supposed to, I don't mean it from it should happen for a good or a bad reason. I mean supposed to as far as the trend from data that has consistently gone in the past and throughout the various climate change.
I know what you meant. I was just being a dick because you picked on my fucking word, and I'm like. I shouldn't have to use 100%, scientific vernacular.
Okay, let me explain.
Because you knew what I meant.
I didn't actually, because it's I don't want to say triggered, but it's one of my sticking points that pisses me off, and it's not a you thing. It's not a you thing. It's a me thing, and I acknowledge that, and I'm working on trying to not be triggered when people use. And I'm not even saying that you use it intentionally that way. It's just I have this problem with a bunch of my friends. There's a bunch of people who use language in a very garbage fashion, and they pollute the tragedy of the comments? They pollute the language, right? They pollute the usage and intelligible speech between people in order to elevate themselves. They bring the discourse down.
Trust me, I don't like it when people misuse language. I harp on people for misusing the term racist all the time. And I have to educate people that if somebody doesn't like you because you're Christian, Jewish, or Muslim, they are not racist.
Yeah, they're bigoted.
They are, in fact, anti-Semitic.
Right.
Well, bigoted covers all of them, but if he's trying to actually tie it down, that would be anti-Semitic because your religion is a Semitism, not a race.
Right.
And then I also instruct people that racism, anti-Semitism, prejudice in general is not necessarily bad.
That's why you can't link.
Bigotry is the negative version of prejudice.
I was gonna say you can't, but that's why you don't. That's why you don't segue in with prejudice being linked to hatred or.
But everybody else does. The world right now, social media, they say that prejudice. They say, "Oh, you're wrong because you're a nasty person because of your prejudice." Well,
but your prejudices can make you. Your prejudices can make you a nasty person, depending on how strongly held and negative.
When your prejudice is when you use your prejudice to make determinations or make decisions or actions that are negative to another person for no purposes, they're not a benefit to you. They're just negative to that person because for the purposes of being negative, it changes from a prejudice to a bigotry.
Sure.
That's what, and I don't like when people harp on about prejudices because we're all prejudiced and extremely so.
But see,
you should about simple things like you and I. We like females, so we want to put our dicks in females, which means we are heavily prejudiced against gay men who may also want our dick. But there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being prejudiced. And when people, the same people who tell you that,
downgrade it. Hold on. Let me. I'm not always trying to cut you off, but sometimes you hog a bit of air, if I might say that. And I just want to say, that's where you downgrade from saying something like prejudice to implicit bias. It starts with bias that can be implicit or explicit, and then implicit bias carries over into prejudice, and prejudice carries over into bigotry, and then bigotry has its own fancy names for all the different types of bigotry you can have.
I don't like going down the implicit bias and the explicit bias because, one, most people don't even understand what those terms mean, and second, that segues people into going and talking about unconscious bias and conscious bias. And I just don't think that either of those two terms are healthy. It's just people should recognize that prejudice is one of the things that sets humans apart from other creatures, and one of the reasons why
not prejudice, discretion. Discretion ends up leading to prejudice, though. Because you take so many discriminatory. I try to simplify things because trying to use words like that with most of the American population is a fail because they don't understand them. And then, for instance, here's a prejudice of mine. I prefer the human language, and I think that if you're going to be an American, or the English language, and if you're going to be an American, you need to learn said language to the best of your ability. Meaning that every other language that you have, if you're in America, your first language should be English. Why? And I have a reason for it, and it's not because I'm, it is because I'm prejudiced, but it's not because I'm a bigot. My reasons for it are, okay, it helps with it helps keep the society in order. When you go to court because you broke the law, the judge is not going to speak to you in another language, nor should he have to. Because if you have to hire somebody to speak your language and translate it to you, that person comes with a cost, meaning we, the citizens, have to pay for that. I shouldn't have to pay for somebody that speaks Spanish because you don't speak English when you're going to court. You take a risk. You take a risk by picking any language, right? Especially Spanish.
Well, I don't care what language. My point is.
I know you don't care. I'm saying awareness is all I'm saying. I'm not saying. I'm not trying to police your speech.
My thing is, I shouldn't have to be, and that's another thing. I shouldn't have to tiptoe around things like that. If I pick a language at random.
Look, if shoulds and coulds were fishes, or some shit with wishes,
But that's just exposing the same people who are trying to call others bigots. That's just exposing their own bigotry because they're assuming that what I'm saying is coming from a place of hate because I'm not like them.
But you say bigotry, and I don't think that's actually correct. It comes from the position of, let's say, more like feeling embattled, and also you know how coding works, man. People try to fucking.
If someone assumes that if someone comes forward to you and they assume that you're bad, for no reason, and you've given them no reason to think so. Like, let's say a cop comes up to you and he stops you merely for the fact that you're black. I would say that's because that has some bigotry involved with it.
But what if he just got a profile on a perp?
But if he just got a profile, then that's not because I said.
But what if the profile on the perp is any black? What if the profile on the perp is any guy?
But I said that he didn't. I already specified that he didn't. I said
my bad. I missed
only because you were black.
But see, let me tell you something. When I hear only because he's black, it still puts in the option that black is part of the profile, or the profile is only black. You see what I'm saying? Because
No.
that's how I technically think of language. That's just all. That's what I'm saying. It's my issue that I have, and that's what separates me from most people. And I don't mean that in a positive, like I'm better than people. I mean it actually separates me from people because I can't communicate to people the way I want to all the time.
The reason I say black, right, is because black is a better description than using African American.
Right.
Because the majority of Americans, not even the majority of African Americans, cannot distinguish on sight if you are black or if you are African American.
I can tell if there is an African. I can tell.
Yeah, but if they don't say
anything,
if they don't say anything, a lot of times nobody knows.
Well, if you know African mannerisms and African culture, you can figure it out. But
most people don't know any of that, though. Most people don't know.
But see, I don't know what most people don't know. And I've been learning actually a lot over the past like 3 years, and specifically the past 2 months, that a lot of people don't know the stuff that I know, and I don't try to be an asshole. It's like the whole Overwatch thing, you know? It's like I don't know what you don't know, and when I say things, apparently I sound like an asshole because you don't know something and I sound condescending when I say it. Not you, but like the general you.
It's because it's just how you speak. People take a masculine voice to be aggressive, and that's not true. That's their own prejudice. They associate male and masculine with all things bad, and that is one of the biggest sins that we're facing today. You know, you're not saying anything mean. You're really just being manly about what you're saying. So you're asserting that this is what I believe. Take it or leave it. You're not even telling them that they have to take it.
Right.
You're saying take it or leave it. I don't give a fuck. But they want you to come. They want you to come forward and say, "I would much prefer you do it this way because it would be such more helpful to the team. And if you could do this and we could all work together, we could be successful and succeed." But I ain't got time to be a little bitch. I just want you to do what I need you to do so that we can win. I'm not gonna hold your hand.
Right? Because if you're not trying to get these W's, I'll be out here working for them.
Yeah, but that's considered. You know, me adding on that extra was adding empathy and feminism to what I was doing. But most men aren't innately, well, that's not true. Most men weren't. So most men of our generation weren't and are not innately feminine. So we're much more my way or the highway. That was the phrase when we were growing up, and that's how we are.
But see, I thought I had a light voice in general, though. I don't understand, like I don't.
In comparison to the men of when you grew up, so when you were a kid versus the men that you grew up around, of course you do. But compared to what these boys are raised with today, no. The average male of 20 years old, between the ages of 18 and 20, is not even a man. He's a boy. He doesn't understand anything about manhood. And unfortunately,
I always thought I always thought I was coming at people hella light, bro. I'm not even coming at people on the, hey, yo, dog, we're gonna get you with that.
Because you're coming at them with a sense of no feelings. You have no feelings, neither good or bad, when you're coming at them. You're just telling them your views, and you don't care what they do with them. The problem is, everything that's done by the majority of people today has feelings in it, because they are raised to care more about feelings than just logics. Like, if you see, and it's sad, because when you don't have logic, everything falls to shit.
I mean, everybody has a logic that they can tie together with cognitive dissonance. So.
That is not true. But see, that's one of the things that's one of the reasons why you run into so much trouble in Overwatch. You assume that they have logic, and they don't.
How can you not? Like, I mean, you have to have something undergirding. Otherwise, what are you doing? You're just chaos. You are chaos. You are a manifestation of pure chaos.
I would invite you to go to some of these marches, go to some of these demonstrations that they do. Most of them are just pure and utter chaos. If you actually got to talk to them, you would realize how reckless and dangerous most of them are, because they have no goals, they have no point, they have no stance.
What are you doing? Could you leave, please? Because then you're taking up space. Like, if you don't have a purpose to block the road. Don't
say that, because then you'll be a member of the alt-right if you say something like that.
I'm not saying I'm going to fight them. I'm just saying, like, if I talk to you...
No, I'm not saying you want to fight them. I'm just saying, if you say that to them, that, okay, you're not at all a benefit to us, you're hurting us, because only thing that you're coming across is saying, basically, fuck us and fuck the world. That's not constructive. Could you please leave? Which is what the argument is on a lot of things. And that's, like,
I don't need manifestations of pure chaos around me. I just need, like,
But that's what we have out there. That's why society's going to shit. Because if you say that, they say, well, you lack the empathy to understand why they are so chaotic. You
what the fuck do you mean? What the fuck do you mean? Eat a dick. Empathize with me saying that logic is the only way to get shit done. If you don't have a structured, ordered system based on mathematics, or at least
that's why I always am careful about when I define you. I usually make a distinction. I call you a liberal. I don't call you a leftist because you're a liberal. If you said the views that if I took you
classically
to
liberal, classically liberal.
If I took you to a leftist thing. And you spouted off
God,
half the
no,
shit you
shoot
say,
me,
we
please,
would both
Jesus,
be swung
no.
from a tree.
No, I don't.
We would both be swung from a tree and be like, I thought it was supposed to be the dudes in the white capes that did this shit. No. That's why, because your views are wrong.
I don't go to leftist meetings.
Your views are wrong as far as they're concerned.
But they don't have views, so what are they comparing it against? Like, if you're coming out, if you're telling me if what you're saying is true, because I can't always just assume what you're saying is true.
Because their views change every day. So, for instance, right? Let's take this, and I'll tell you how they have no views. They think they do, but they don't. So they will sit there and say that women are oppressed and need to be uplifted and helped, and we need to they need to be paid more in the workplace. They should always be believed if, they're raped or whatever, something along that line. But in that same token, they will say that America needs to go and embrace the teachings of Islam in its original form. And
why?
The only reason that we don't like that...
Who's saying this?
Dude, I'm telling you, the same feminists... as a matter of fact, I'll find you the footage. During the last woman's march...
Hold up. I need help with the quest. I can't figure this quest out. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Have you done the royal reception? You did the royal reception storyline quest? Because it says put on some bullshit, but I don't have it.
Yeah, you gotta put on the earrings. It's in your inventory. You have to hit C, and then go to your
Is it in the armory bullshit?
Yeah, it's in the armory one.
But
you have to click on the necklace or the earring, because that's where it's at.
God damn it.
But if you actually watch that women's march shit, right, you would have seen that they were preaching for Islam during that whole thing, which is ironic because Islam stands in direct opposition to all of their goals.
You know what's the worst part about our conversations though? Is we talk about everything pretty in depth and get pretty nerdy on a lot of stuff. But like the problem with us having to talk about this stuff is we can't actually talk about it. We can only go so far before it's like then we have to take it off. We'll be hung.
We will be hung. It will be hung in the court of opinions.
Right.
Because the court of opinions means more to people nowadays than anything else.
But see, the thing is though, as part of it, that means that I can only say so much, and anything that even comes up, it's like I have to recognize that Twitch can ban the shit out of me on any.
But is that right? Wouldn't you agree that that's not right?
I can't say. I mean, I'm not saying it's correct. Let me say.
Well, I mean, you can't. Yeah, you can't say it on stream, but you know what I mean. Like my thing is this.
Let me say what.
I would stand and support somebody calling me everything under the sun, and I would sit there and fight for their right to do it. I would completely disagree with what they were saying, and maybe dislike the person, but I would support them doing it because I would be very aware that there might come a day where
when you need that protection. Yeah.
And I don't want to be in a situation where I feel like I'm not allowed to think.
It's the same reason you don't. It's the same reason torture shouldn't be justified.
Yeah, at its root, I support people being bigoted. I support them being allowed to do that if that's what they really want to do. I don't think it's productive. I think they're dumb, but I support them being allowed to do it because how do I know that one day the views I have might not be considered bigoted? I'm seeing that actually happen in my lifetime. My views on homosexuality are not bigoted at all. I just believe you should live and let live. But I think that if you have a pastor of a church or somebody who that has a business and for whatever religion they hold, they're not allowed to do something, I don't think that I should be able to force them to do it just because I have a view contrary to theirs.
But then they shouldn't engage in that business if that business requires that they.
See, I both agree and both disagree with that. So what I would say is,
you want to put personal responsibility and double-edged swords cut both ways.
I would see, and that's what I'm saying. I agree and that's why I say I agree and disagree with that. If I'm a painter, right? If I'm a painter, or let's say better yet, an easier one. If I'm a photographer and I take pictures for a living, that's cool. But if somebody wants, and I take really good pictures, but if they ask me to come
I need really good pictures of my ball sack. I'm just saying.
Yeah, if they ask me to come and take really good pictures of their ball sack, I might decline, and I should have the right to decline.
I have a beautiful ball sack though.
Yeah, let's get a little more personal with it. Let's say there's a white nationalist movement that wants some pictures of their event. I'm going to decline, and I should have that right.
You know how much you could sell those pictures for if you were the sole
That's not the point, though. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be there because
every news agency in the world would want your photos.
But if you're there, you could be hung in the court of public opinions just for being there.
No.
I see what you're saying. You can't even get money. But that's the whole point of protest, though, right? In the court of public opinion is for you to have extra legal ways to shut down things that you disagree with.
Which is wrong. You shouldn't have extra legal ways to shut down things you disagree with.
That's actually part of how the legal system works. Is like, were your extra legal steps actually beyond the scope of what the law allows? If so, we have a response for it. If not, then there's not shit you can do about it.
Exactly, and that's the way it should be. There's a reason they did that, was because it's letting you can't define everything out in somebody's life. The whole purpose of in every religion is that we have free will. And to remove the free will from the people is just stupid. Why would you want to do that?
I mean, it's actually impossible to remove free will. It's only able to remove agency. That's a little bit different.
But still, you get the point. You shouldn't be attacking people based on what their views are. You should be attacking people based on what their actions are. That was the whole fight of civil rights.
But you should be able to verbally engage in a back and forth regardless, but that means that there has to be the agreement that violence shan't come of any words. And if violence does come of words, the person who is in the right to defend themselves should be able to appropriately, and that's where justified use of force should come into play.
But you say that, right? Because you understand how the law works. I've seen and I've heard people say that it's justified if somebody says something. Like let's say if somebody calls you a nigger to your face,
I might accidentally slap him though. I might accidentally slap him.
You might accidentally do it, and I wouldn't even judge you for that. But you know that when it in the eyes of the law, you made a mistake. But you would accept that.
It was aggravated, yeah. But I would accept it, and especially if I accidentally slap him though. If I accidentally slap him and then I give him the sign that we're not going any further and it was a mistake and I'm gonna supplicate, then it starts to put them in a situation too. Because
I'm not saying that they hit you back. I'm saying that they did that. You accidentally hit you slipped up. You knocked their teeth out, and that was the end of it. If they later come on you and sue you to repair their teeth,
I'm with it. Yeah.
Fucked up.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. You got it.
But there are people who say that no, they should be allowed to beat that person to within an inch of their life because they don't understand the struggles that people that aren't them, by the way, have gone through under the oppression of that word. And I mean, no, that's wrong.
That's not how. Like, oppression's not a tit for tat thing. It's just, can I get what I deserve as a human to start off with? Can I just get the human thing?
Get. You don't get to kill, like, just because somebody killed people in the past doesn't mean you get to kill their
doesn't mean
offspring.
it doesn't mean you're not motivated to though.
I'm not saying that you're not motivated. There's a lot of shit that trust me, right? A lot of history. And some of that stuff makes me want to go punch somebody. But it's one of those things. But I know it's not right.
Right.
You should have enough moral fortitude to be able to say yes, horrible things were done.
But that's why
I'm not going to reenact these and carry out a never-ending story of hate because that's all that you're going to get from it.
Right.
And that's what's actually happening today.
Look, no matter how much we have a back and forth, like, I don't hate you at all.
Yeah.
It's just we get into heated discussion.
The resurgence of the white nationalist movement is actually been caused because of people who go overboard. Main examples would be like
it's not really a resurgence. It's the same way gangs recruit.
Yeah, but it's the only reason that it's there in such a blatant view right now is because they can point to things where there are wrongs and they're being wrong, and then they can take those things, like you said with Ben Shapiro. They do this. I don't believe he does this quite like they do, but they'll take those anecdotal incidents that look terrible. And they'll throw him.
Don't get it twisted. I don't hate Ben Shapiro. He actually has learned a lot, and you he's learned a lot because he's made mistakes that almost got him fucked up. And when you almost get fucked up, it does teach you a little something. Like, he's still a smarmy SOB, but he knows he's not going to come incorrect in the wrong spot because he knows that he knows how big he really is, no matter how big his name is. Because sometimes before he gets somewhere,
thing,
somebody would be like, "Yo, I heard Ben Shapiro coming through." It's like, who's Ben Shapiro? You know that motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like they get him with that quick one.
But the thing I like about him is that he knows what he is.
Right.
He knows that
he knows he's a pariah.
He
knows he's a pariah. There's
biased.
a difference. I'm not saying I hate him. I'm just saying he's a pariah among certain.
He admits that everything that he says is skewed in the favor of what he's there, and he welcomes open discourse. If you can prove his facts wrong, he'll admit they're wrong.
But he doesn't allow you necessarily to have because of how narrowly he paints the context, he removes context with a lot of things. You know that.
That may be true, but that's just called debate. And you can't be mad at a smart debater.
He's clever. He's clever. I don't know about smart.
He's a very good debater, and he doesn't leave a lot of room. And that's the thing about debate that people don't realize is debate is how you're supposed to take care of all of your issues.
Yes, but you know about the honor between Go players. He doesn't necessarily respect those kind of infinite steps. He doesn't respect the infinite move. He doesn't respect the infinite move.
Well, the thing about debate that I think a lot of people don't understand and really makes people upset about debate is just because you're right doesn't mean you'll win the debate. And that's something that I have to teach people all the time. I'm like, look, I can pick something that we both know is wrong and still beat you in a debate.
No, because it's about scope of discussion.
Yeah, it's about how I frame my discussion, not necessarily is everything that I'm saying. Like the whole point is it's like court. You can be guilty and get off, and you can be innocent and go to jail.
No, you can have committed the crime and still be innocent.
I'm talking about you can be guilty of murder and get off quite easily. It used to happen all the time back in the 60s.
No, because if you're guilty is a conviction. Innocence,
no, I'm saying that
innocence
is guilty,
be convicted guilty.
I'm not saying that they get convicted. I'm saying that they're guilty as in we know the crime was.
No, that's why I'm saying. That's why I'm saying you can have committed the crime. That's why I'm just trying to maintain the cleanness of my technical language. It's a practice for me. And I'm saying you can have committed the crime and still be declared innocent, and you can have not committed the crime, as seen with many black deaths throughout American history. You can not have committed the crime and still be declared guilty. Like, there's guys that are just coming off death row. Like, you don't even know how many innocent people have been.
And they're starting to figure out that now that we have things like DNA, that it's not them, and it's obvious that it's not them. But that's my whole point. That system, and that's why we have the system innocent until proven guilty, and also why we have the system beyond a shadow of a doubt, because it is very easy to convict
Well, it's actually
somebody
not. It's not actually a shadow.
Just because they're dumb.
That's a common phrase. I'm not trying to correct you, but for all the listeners out there. It's beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
Because a shadow, they even instruct you in court. It's like a shadow of a doubt can be placed upon anything.
But the point is, the point is that the burden of proof is on the accuser.
Yes, it's on
not
the accuser.
On the defendant.
Right, because I could walk around all day collecting fat M's if I just said, "Yo, they did this, he did that, give me money."
Exactly. And that's why I disagree 100% with these movements that come around, like the Me Too movement, because they're saying every person who accuses should be believed. Well, no. I mean, I'm sure you've been falsely accused in your life.
Hella falsely accused, man. I'm a 6'4" black man in L.A.
I've broken up with my fair share of girls, and, some girls aren't happy about it when you break up with them. They feel like you owe them something.
It's funny, though. It's funny how, I've seen this, like, not necessarily direct experience, but I've seen the false accusations from the ones that go, I wanted to have his baby, I love him, he's my everything, he'll come back to me if I falsely accuse him. I've seen it.
Seen it. Because he's like, oh, if you get me, and I've seen girls make that deal, like, if you get me pregnant, I'll drop the charges. I'm like, wow.
I've never seen the deal, I've just seen the logic.
Like, yo.
I can never.
It's like wow. Like, but I don't understand. Well, I was in the military, so there's a lot of that happens. Because they know that if you get hemmed up with one of those cases, you can't make rank. A lot of times the military will try and speedline it and just kick you out because they don't want to deal with it.
But you know what's funny about you and your use of language is that you saying hemmed up is actually gives you credence to your military time.
I guess, but the point is it's really bad. Like women in the military or around military men know that that the burden of proof is on the actual defendant, which putting the burden of proof on the defendant is not fair. Because the whole point of the burden of proof
military court martial doesn't work exactly by any sort of fairness, let's say.
It doesn't, and that's why they do it. Because the military will usually try, but actually nowadays you can circumvent the court martialing until the civil court lawsuit has gone through.
Oh, really? You can defer that.
Yep, you can defer it until after that's done.
Dude.
It's just a lot of members aren't smart enough to do it.
Bro, back when I was coming up, not that I was in the military, but like as far as how I had it, like broken down to me, I mean, court martialing, they just.
Now that's only if. Let me reiterate that. That's only if it's between the military member and a third party that is not the military. If it's between you and the military itself, you're pretty fucked. But if the military is coming after you because, like, let's say you're being accused of rape or a DUI out in the private sector, and the military wants to take action against you because that's also breaking their rules. So in the military, you get hit with what's called double jeopardy, which you're not supposed to be able to get hit with, but you get hit with it because you have to get through the actual federal court system, and then you have to get through the military court system. And you can say, okay, you can say to the military, you can't take any action until after the federal court system or state court or whatever it is has run its course, because we don't have all the facts. So you can defer until all the facts come in, which will only happen at the end of your civil trial.
Well, it's like doing a civil and there's actually a difference between a civil and a criminal, but it's like doing a civil and a criminal, because they do that as they do enter some things as evidence in a criminal trial that were discovered in the civil trial. If the civil trial comes out as guilty, you have a high. Like that's why most people settle the civil trial so that they can. No, not necessarily. Some people, depending on the situation, right? It's always dependent, but
yeah, it really depends on what it is.
The best strategy that some people do, because that you don't know exactly how the civil trial will go, is you give them the settlement so it doesn't go to civil trial, and then you handle the criminal trial separately and say that they didn't go to civil trial as evidence for the criminal trial in your favor.
Yeah, I've seen that happen. But the thing that you have to understand is this: the court system is heavily politicized right now and very corrupt, and that's
I will disagree or take a neutral stance.
Well, the reason I say that is not because of the actual foundings of the judicial system itself. It's the individuals in it. For instance, the lawyers.
But then don't blanket. I would prefer you didn't blanket.
That's why I was not quite done with the sentence. But
okay.
the lawyers are the problem, because like right now, most of the lawyers are predatory. Lawyers were never supposed to be predatory. They were supposed to be benign. So now they go out there and they look for cases. Like, let's say you own a business and somebody slips and falls in your business. That person knows that they slipped and fell because they didn't look out for where they were going, and there was a bottle that somebody in front of them had knocked over and they slipped. Not your fault at all. But there are lawyers out there now who tell people to bring those things to them to take them to court, because you as a business don't have time to deal with it, so you'll just settle to get it out of the way. And they know that they can make money off of that, and that's predatory, and they do that. They're not very well respected, obviously, in their community, but the majority of lawyers are doing exactly that, which is mind-boggling. Like, I know you've heard it before. Like, have you ever heard the commercials for lead poisoning, or the commercials for asbestos, or the commercials for I can't remember the third one.
All the stuff that gets recalled that does cause
all the stuff that has problems. Yeah, but they ask these things.
Disability, etc., etc.
But they go and ask these things in the communities that in minority communities where they know that there's old housing structures that aren't very good, that are being supplied to the people for either little to no money by the government. So they're suing the government for providing people with places to stay, which it's just the best they have. You can't expect the government to house you in a 5-star hotel. They house you in the buildings that they own, which are usually repossessed buildings that were converted into, Section A housing. Section A housing isn't going to be great. It might have lead pipes. It might have asbestos-filled walls. But Is it better to be in a place with lead pipes and asbestos-filled walls where you can buy bottled water or buy a filter, or B, live out on the streets? It's obvious which is better. It's better to have the asbestos-filled walls and the lead and actually have some standard of living, but it's not fair for you to then turn around and sue for that.
Asbestos-filled walls actually aren't that bad as long as you don't.
They're not, as long as you don't dig into it and eat it.
If you don't cut the goddamn walls, well, you just don't cut it open and aerosolize
it. But there's lawyers out there asking people to cut their walls open and go find the lead paint. That's what it was, lead paint. Find the lead paint. Find the lead pipes.
If you eat them, you'll
find the
having problems.
Find the asbestos in the walls so that they can sue the government or in Section 8 or whatever Section 8 is being provided to them and get money. That's wrong. All that's going to happen is going to cost the government more money and people aren't going to want to help you. But they don't seem to realize that. And it's like, how do you not realize that that's not a good answer to the problem?
I mean, I just don't like to use the terms good and bad. It's beneficial.
It's not a suitable answer. It is not a suitable answer to that issue. Is a better way to define it.
Or productive, potentially.
Yeah, it's definitely not productive. But it's going to have a negative.
You know what I mean? When I feel like good and evil are for fairy books and story tells, and RPGs and
Yeah, I'm fine with that. But my point is, it's not fair to people when people do stuff like that. It's not fair to anyone to do that. When you're being provided free housing or almost free housing, you shouldn't be complaining about the condition of the house. Somebody's helping you.
You know what's funny? Have you ever seen those situations where the government ends up having to sue itself?
Yeah, but that's a lot of time that's caused by the lawyers just like this, like the ones I was describing. That's not good. Like, all it makes people say is, well, I mean, okay, it's like there's laws that have come behind it because of like Good Samaritans, and this is why you have a lot less Good Samaritans and a lot less charities and things. Back in the day, people used to do food banquets for homeless people all the time, and they would make food at their house, or they would go out and collect food cans and things like that and give them to the homeless. But now they don't nearly as much because they have to worry about one of the homeless people suing them should they happen to have gotten a bad can of fucking beans.
Yeah, but I think any litigator or anybody involved in a litigation process would say that the biggest problem isn't just lawyers, but it's frivolous lawsuits in general. One of the best things that most judges can do at a certain level, because I don't want to speak too specifically about this because of certain entanglements, but one of the best things that can be done to help ungum the works of our legal system and get legitimate cases through is for judges and for prosecutors and all of these people involved to recognize when frivolity becomes involved in the litigation process, because frivolity has no room in the litigation process, because people's lives are on the line, because real things are on the line.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. That's my whole point. But the lawyers are the ones who are actually promulgating most of this, because they're doing things like pro bono. They say, like this is actually in those ads, and that's why I'm saying those lawyers like that should be disbarred.
Pro bono is not a problem. Pro bono is actually a requirement.
Pro bono, the way that they're doing it, is actually a huge problem. Because
those are scummy people.
They're saying, everybody bring us your cases, and we'll do the work, we'll do the groundwork, and you don't have to pay us unless you make money. Now, the evil thing that's more evil, is these aren't people who are using pro bono in the way it was actually made by Good Samaritans. These are the evil lawyers that are doing it. And when they do pro bono, they ask for 30% of whatever is awarded. You know damn gross. Well a lawyer is not, no. That's too much. One, it's too much. And two, you shouldn't be accepting every case. You should only be accepting cases that you believe are winnable.
But you know what they do it that way. You know what they do that's worse than what you just said? What you said is generous. What they'll do is they'll buy you. I'm trying to be
generous because my mom's a lawyer, so.
Oh, they buy you out of settlements. So they're like,
yep.
We'll give you right now. What do you need? 30,000 or whatever, but you can get like 500.
You have $1 million. Yeah, you have $1 million settlement. We'll give you $250,000,
right?
And we'll take care of the case. And if we win, we'll keep the money. But if we lose, you still keep the $250,000,
right?
And people are like, "Oh, it's a great deal." I'm like, "No. If he's telling you that, he knows for a fact you're gonna win."
Right.
So tell them to go fuck off.
Right, and go find somebody who will represent your interests correctly.
Another problem is when they do shit like that, the 30% or things like that, they go to the court asking for more money than whatever it was worth. Like if you slipped and bust your ass, you fractured your tailbone, and it healed, you don't need $1 million. You need $100,000 at most. And they ask for $1 million because the person, the actual in person, is only going to get about a few $100,000, and the lawyer is going to take a few $100,000 when everything gets inflated because the lawyer is trying to take too much money. Like if they actually left it down and they weren't, expending so much money, and when you see the pro bono shit, you should look at after that's done how much they write their services up for having costed, like the crazy estimations they use, and you would say I would never agree with that.
It's charity work, so you can write it off on your taxes.
Yeah, but they write it off as like, oh, I helped him and we were in court for a year and it was worth $70,000. Nigga, please. At best, it was worth $10,000, and they know that. But they lie and they write it off on their taxes, so they steal.
I mean, it depends on how many hours of discovery and research and, whatever.
I'm talking about your average case. We're not talking about one who actually did the right thing. We're talking about your average run-of-the-mill.
Oh, no, that was me giving the scammy response, because it sounds a lot like the correct response.
Because these people, dude, they're just bad people. And you see that both in the lawyer realm of things, but you also see that very heavily in the insurance side of things. Both health and auto insurance. But in the insurance side, it's being done by the banks.
I can't seem to find where this thing is. I was just outside the elevator, but where's the airship landing? You about to take a nap?
No, I said I just learned how to use these maps. Like, what landing are you looking for?
The airship landing.
You have to take the elevator at the bottom and say go up to the airship landing.
I knew I came across that elevator, but I couldn't find out how to get back to it.
It's right underneath where the airstrip is. If you've gotten the crystal, I can't remember what they're called, the amethyst. Just use the amethyst that leads to the airship landing, and it'll take you right to the guy. And then just talk to everybody there, and you'll find it.
Okay, we're jumping off. Oh, I can't jump off. God damn it.
Yeah, I really don't have a lot of respect for most of the lawyers these days because they're very scummy with the way they do their practices. But I mean, we live in a very predatory society right now. You're actually starting to see people start to prey on gamers. I mean, look at the
like that link.
Look at the pre-order. Yeah, look at the pre-order. Look at the pre-order meta that we exist in. Everything has to be pre-ordered, and look at what they're actually giving you for these pre-orders. They're giving you absolutely nothing.
A game that they might close. Thanks,
exactly.
Paragon. Thanks,
look
Paragon.
At all the people who pre-ordered Paragon. They're fucked. Look at all the people who pre-ordered
and people spent hundreds of dollars.
Fucked. Yeah, look at all the people who pre-ordered these games. Look at all the people who pre-ordered Bless. They're fucked. Look at all they're doing is actually these are predatory type scenarios. These games should come out and make it on their own merit. Now, do I pre-order? Yes, I do because I like the content. But then again, I do it knowing the full risk. They get a lot of these people who are doing it are kids. They don't know the risk that they're taking on.
Hey, Mom, can you buy me this game? What is pre-order?
Destiny 2. Destiny 2. Remember all the people who pre-ordered Destiny 2 for like the wasn't it like $150 for like the Supreme pack?
I did the DLC one, but I got it not. It was like $120.
Yeah, well, it's failing as a game. When's the last time you played it? The fact is, it's been a minute.
I played it when it came out. I played it when it came out.
Yeah, and you were not too impressed. If you
also,
were, you would have stayed.
Not true. There were extenuating circumstances. Oh, you reminded me. Hey.
No, but I'm saying you would have. If you would have come back, you would have played it if it would have come back.
Hold on. I have to download Paragon because I realized that. Or not Paragon. I have to download Fortnite.
I was about to say it's gone. It's gone, dude.
I have to download Fortnite because what was I gonna say? I realized that I never had a problem with Fortnite. I just stopped playing it because of my dad's condition.
Yeah, Fortnite was a good game. We just stopped playing it because, honestly, it just it was so buggy at the time. was the real reason. But
Well,
it was an early beta.
I want to try this battle royale now that you mention it. It's like I got a paid copy of the game and I'm not playing a free copy of it. And like
exactly. You've never played Battle Royale, neither have I. But I mean, I've seen it. It looks okay. It's not. It's not. I don't think it's gonna be like. It's like a game that. I think it'll be your Overwatch replacement.
But is it? Does it have team play now or does it not?
It's not really team. It has team play, but it has very small emphasis on teamwork. Like it's a game that. The good thing about Fortnite is it's fun no matter what. Whether you win or you lose, it's still a fun game.
Oh yeah.
So it's not a competitive game.
But
Unlike Overwatch, they admit they're not competitive. They say it's fun competitive play that's not really competitive. Whether you win or lose isn't the big deal. It's more about how you did it. Like, did you go out swinging like a boss, or did you go out like a bitch in a corner? It's more about being a boss than it is about winning the round.
It's gonna take me a million years to download though.
So just download it when you're at the end of something, when you go to bed or something. But it's not hardcore competitiveness.
What is this Season 2 Battle Pass? There's a Season 2? When did they have Season 1?
I don't know, man. I don't support that free-to-play bullshit that everybody does, but I understand that it's the cost of doing business, so I just let it be what it is.
No. Once somebody mentioned microtransactions and heard how much money you can make off of it, it just raped the gaming industry. And I don't mean that. And I don't mean that. I don't mean that in like a colloquial term. I mean they bent it over forcefully, and now all we have is a preload meta.
Yeah, it's a predatory industry now. Gaming is a predatory industry. You can blame Warframe for that.
Why Warframe?
Warframe is the one who's responsible for the revolutionizing of the microtransactions in games. Before Warframe, it only really existed in mobile games.
Yeah, I was gonna say actually, I think it was Clash of Clans.
Yeah, nobody had the balls. Nobody had the balls to port it from mobile games into computer games until Warframe. Warframe was a free-to-play game, and everyone said that Warframe would fail because it was free-to-play and they invested way too much money in it. They wouldn't be able to make their money back, and they'd go out of business because of it. And they just added in they free-to-played it, just like they literally stole the Clash of Clan business model, and it was enormous success. It's a big reason why Destiny 1 failed.
I have 2% of.
It's a big reason
I have 2%
why
of
Destiny 2
Fortnite.
failed.
2% of Fortnite is downloaded.
People don't like to admit that it was a really successful game. I don't play it anymore because I just aged out of it. But boy, was it successful.
I don't know if I'll be able to get levels right now. I seem to be able to I can't find shit. Can't get around.
That's what I've been going through for the last couple hours, but I'm slowly making my way through and doing it now. The problem is you have to do a whole bunch of running around because you're going to go to the other 3 major capitals and talk to the other 3 faction leaders, and then once you're done with that, you're going to have to walk around those towns and do the beginning areas of those towns. And yeah.
I'm feeling like I don't want to do that.
Just make sure you skip all the cutscenes and it doesn't take too long.
Yeah, but if I can't find an airship location, what the fuck?
It's up at once you follow the thing I told you, it's easy to find.
I was at the elevator 2 seconds ago.
Run back to the elevator, talk to the guy, tell him you want to go to the airship landing, and you'll be there.
But it's on one of these outside hook. It goes around one of the outside edges of the city, doesn't it?
Go talk to any one of those teleporters and port there.
What teleporter? But I don't have the teleporter. I don't think.
How do you not have the teleporter? You should have got that in the beginning.
By the airship?
Yeah, I got all the teleporters when I first.
I don't remember ever being by the airship.
Well, see if you have it, because it might even just give them all to you, but you can teleport.
Where is it close by? The Weavers Guild?
That I don't know. You'd have to look. You would have to look. I'm in the middle of a dungeon.
I don't know if I can play this right now. What other games am I going to play right now? Fortnite? Wow, it's installing fast. Why is it going so fast? I'm at 8%. How many gigabytes is this? Oh, it's just installing. I've had it downloaded. I never uninstalled it. I don't get it. I'm confused.
I don't know. But what I was doing was.
Alright, I'm gonna shut down the stream real quick while I just let Fortnite download. And I'm gonna get some food, but I'll be back and we can chill.
Yeah, let me know how the Battle Royale stuff is.
Oh, you're not hopping on?
Huh?
You're not gonna hop in?
I don't know if I have it installed, and right now I'm trying to
I'm installing it right now.
I'm trying to get this character through this quest so I can get my Chocobo, and then things will start